Hello, my name is. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna pause it. Hello, my name is Hope Hansen.
My name's Sam Seifert.
And I'm Christian Maldonado.
This is our presentation on GMOs, and we are against GMOs. We do not think that they should be in our society, and we do not think that they should go any further than they have. So, a little background on genetically modified organisms is they are basically crop selection just on a very scientific level. The first GMO alteration on a scientific level was in 1860 with Gregor Mendel, and this is where he crossed two varieties of garden peas. What really opened the door for genetic engineering within plants and animals was in 1953. James Watson and Francis Crick broke down DNA and figured out that the DNA is a double helix. This, allowed him to even go further into breaking them down into base pairs. And from these base pairs, he only took the good quality DNA from that organism, and this act of gene splitting is what eventually founded GMOs. So they were found on a very, very scientific level, and that's what they still are today. And scientists are going even further and doing this within not just plants, but within livestock as well. So as I said before, genetically modified organisms is an organism whose genome has been altered by the techniques of genetic engineering so that its DNA contains one or more genes not normally found here. So they basically extract the genomes, like I said, and then they use its own DNA to modify its desirable traits. They take out the bad from the base pairs and only put back in the good. This is done a lot with corn. To get bigger, better corn. I've seen a lot in, especially in, sugar beets, a lot of, not just human feed, but also livestock feed, because corn is in everything with corn syrup, livestock feed, and just every day. And like I said, GMOs are mostly talked about in plants, but they also occur within the livestock industry in cattle, dairy, poultry, swine, just to name a few.
The most common food that contains GMOs, you can see a few. I know personally I eat a lot of corn, stuff with soy in it, and beef, dairy, swine, poultry. I mean, it goes down the list. For all these foods consumed by most people in the world, it's all on a daily basis. It's not just like every once in a while you're lucky enough to get this. It's more so 24/7. I mean, most people, all around the world, who go through, they kind of eat what they can get. So it's very like pigs, sheep, beef, the dairy, everything like that. We are against because we believe that there are alternative and healthier ways to feed the human race. GMOs are unhealthy / safe. So the American Academy of Environmental Medicine urges doctors to prescribe non-GMO diets for all patients. They cite animal studies showing organ damage, gastrointestinal and immune system disorders, accelerated aging, and infertility. Human studies show how genetically modified food can leave material behind inside us, possibly causing long-term problems. So what that kind of gets off to is it's not something that you can just put into your system, give it a couple days or a week, maybe even a month, and it goes out of your system. It's something that once you put it into the system, it sticks around. It's not something that can just quickly get disposed and put out the other end. It's something that really could stick in and cause major effects. And with studies being shown, you can already see organ damage and everything like that. It's like, personally, if I had a choice, I wouldn't want any of that being put into my body. So, you kind of take it for what it is, but it is something that studies are showing to cause issues. To continue on that, it's currently unknown if they are safe. According to the Non-GMO Project, in more than 60 countries, it is required that any food containing GMOs is labeled, and in 30 of them, they're actually banned. Many people choose to eat non-GMOs because of the lack of studies they are on them, but sadly, more than 75% of GMO crops are labeled as organic, which I honestly think is very disappointing, because when it comes to looking at something organic, it's like, okay, this is going to be farm fresh, ready to go, straight from farm to table. But now thinking of this, it's the complete opposite. So organic can not be taken for its word. So, I mean, you kind of, again, take it for what it is, but if you find out the truth and look at the facts, then kind of exposes itself, and it's not all that it's all hyped up to be.
So GMOs within livestock, livestock that are considered to have altered genome DNA can either have altered DNA themselves, or they can consume crops that are considered to be GMO, such as we were talking about how corn is, and corn is fed with silage. So livestock, a lot like in dairies and in feedlots, will consume that. Livestock can be altered to produce or have as much of the desired trait that one animal can produce. So like in dairy, this happens with different types of cows, like Jerseys they produce butter very well. That's what dairymen like to use them for. So they can use this trait in other cows to make them have the same exact trait. One of the biggest traits that scientists strive to imprint on is growing faster with needing less feed, such as poultry and salmon. With the feed ratio of poultry and fish being relatively low, this is not hard to accomplish, and that's why, for example, in the image, salmon can be drastically different in size when comparing farm-fished and GMO fish. So in the picture to the right, you can see both fish are 18 months, and the fish on the left, which is the GM salmon, genetically modified salmon, is 24 inches and it is 6.6 pounds. And on the right is a non-genetically modified salmon, which is 13 inches and 2.8 pounds. So you can see how they drastically are different from each other, from one being genetically modified and the other not.
Yeah, and as you can see in this picture, just to go off what Sam said, they're not even like the same colors. And I'm not sure if they're different varieties, but, you can see this in poultry too, that poultry gets so big so quickly that their leg bones aren't able to grow fast enough with them, and they end up breaking. And a lot of poultry, unfortunately, die because they can't walk to water, and they basically, die of dehydration, which is really, really sad.
So to continue with livestock, GMO and livestock, and other livestock such as swine, cattle, and dairy, they're genetically modified to accomplish other tasks, such as, for example, for dairy cows, the Chinese tried to genetically modify their milk to have the same nutrients to mimic human breast milk. And also in New Zealand, they have successfully reproduced cows to produce allergy-free milk. And we don't think that's very natural. That seems to be, to us and many others, that's very unnatural. This could even be argued by those who are religious, that we're playing God and we're not letting nature take its natural route. Also with goats, they have been known to be modified for the production of milk with higher silk proteins. And swine, they have been modified to be resistant towards roundworms, which contaminate their fecal matter and prevent toxic runoff into streams. As you can see, all of these are very unnatural. And as I spoke before about playing God, I think humans are getting way too involved in controlling what our animals do and altering the genetics they were given.
So GMOs contaminate forever. So this is kind of going off of what Sam said in previous slides of, long-term damage to the earth, the human body, and how GMOs affect that. And it is said that even it can outlast global warming, even nuclear waste. The future impact of this could be causing health problems for our future generations and even economic losses for our farmers. And so, GMOs are great because we get to produce more with less, right? And that's the goal because of our growing population. And so farmers and scientists are collaborating and trying to feed the world as fast as it's growing. And which, sounds all good and dandy at first, but we also need to see how it's affecting our earth and how it will impact our future generations and how it'll affect farmers in the long run. Is it good for the soil? It's obviously, contaminating with that, and so how is it contaminating our soil? So I think we just need to take a step back and look at the big picture and really see if it's worth it. GMOs increase herbicide use. GMO crops are engineered to be herbicide tolerant, and so this means that this is a good thing because besides GMO crops being sold Roundup Ready, which is a crop that is meant to withstand the spray of Roundup. To me, that's just crazy because Roundup and other pesticides like that are meant to kill weeds. And so for them to be resistant against that, it's just crazy to me and seems way too unnatural. And this enables farmers to spray their crops with these toxic sprays to get rid of bugs and such, and to get rid of the unwanted weeds. And this has caused crops to create an immunity to the spray. This has caused farmers to use a lot of more herbicides on their crops, which in return is hurting the environment. And this comes all the way back to, when we go to the grocery store, they always say, wash your strawberries, wash your blueberries, wash all your vegetables, because, we don't know what the farmers are using, what kind of herbicides they're using, and if they're, Roundup Ready resistant, we don't want to be consuming that into our bodies.
So for a little bit of detailed info, there are 10 genetically modified crops commercially available today, those of which are alfalfa, apples, canola, corn, cotton, papaya, potatoes, soybeans, squash, and sugar beets. The majority of genetically modified items like alfalfa and corn crops are actually used in livestock feeding. Farmers choose what seeds to grow based on what is best for their farms. This market demand and local growing. Farmers choose what seeds to grow based on what is best for their farms, market demand, and local growing environments. In fact, there are a wide variety of seed options available to farmers, including organic, hybrid, conventional, and genetically modified seeds. So, yes, you get many options, but in the end, it's still something that's genetically modified. So no matter what they choose, whether it be organic, this, that, or that, there's still something that's not 100% all right. And like Sam mentioned earlier, with everything being tweaked so much, it's not natural, it's not healthy, and it's not a smart choice.
So GMO technological advancements. So some that have happened. The premise behind the newest types of genetic engineering is that plants already process the gene makeup to be robust, nutritious, and pest resistant. Referred to as transgenetics, scientists identify which genes are responsible for positive traits like nutrition level or pest resistance in a certain species. New types of natural GMOs are shown to produce healthy crops and be beneficial to the environment and our health. They could, in theory, be used in conjunction with organic farming methods to produce what is needed.
So in conclusion, we really enjoyed and took a lot of information from the Non-GMO Project website. And I found this quote that I thought was really kind of sums up our project. And it says, GMOs can be toxic, allergenic, or less nutritious than their natural counterparts, can disrupt the ecosystem, damage vulnerable wild plants and animal populations, and harm biodiversity, increase chemical inputs over the long term, and deliver yields that are no better and often worse than conventional crops, cause or exacerbate a range of social and economic problems, are laboratory made, and once released, harmful GMOs do not have a recall. So, recently we have a recall on romaine lettuce from an Arizona farm, and, we can tell people, oh, don't eat the lettuce, but it's not like a car. We can just take it into the shop and fix it. GMOs are long term, like we said. They affect us, and we can't take that back. And, people are dying right now of E. coli from the romaine lettuce, and who knows how harmful GMOs can eventually be.
In the end, it's more so just quantity over quality. They're getting rid of the quality factor and just getting up and quantities. So what they're doing is they're kind of it's money really playing in, and I feel like it's kind of ruining the whole